New video shows police with guns drawn rushing to break up a fight in Fells Point. It's just the latest chaotic scene in the neighborhood. Fox 45 News takes a closer look at the impact. A local business forced to close its doors for good.
Chronic shoplifting and the violence that went along with it.
Our team examines how ongoing crime is changing communities. Parents outraged as Harford County schools cut bus routes.
Frustrating, very frustrating. It's going to be a struggle.
The potentially dangerous walk students will have to make as Fox 45 News Project Baltimore questions why transportation funding is increasing while fewer kids have a ride.
If you're not stepping up, you're a part of the problem.
A mother demanding answers after her son is shot 6 times in Friday's mass shooting. We make her voice heard.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Maxine Stryker.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45 News is looking into the impact crime is having on neighborhoods across the city, including Mount Vernon, where one grocery store owner is telling Fox 45 News shoplifting is one of the big reasons he's closing shop.
And take a look at this video from Fells Point. You can see officers running, guns drawn towards a rowdy crowd over the weekend.
One officer got hurt in that. It is just the latest example of violence in Fells Point in just the past few weeks.
We're hearing from people the crime is impacting most, including the owner of Eddie's Mount Vernon. Fox 45's Keith Daniels will have his story.
But our live team coverage begins with the chaos in Fells Point. Jeff Abel joins us live from the neighborhood with a closer look at exactly what happened. Jeff?
Well, you know, even though the city shuts down these main roads going in and out of Fells Point on the weekends, it seems to be doing very little to stop the violence. In fact, this weekend, a police officer became the latest victim. It may be one of the city's most historic districts.
I love it here. I think it's beautiful.
But lately, Fells Point has made history for all the wrong reasons. It was here at Thames and Bond Street Saturday morning where a police officer was pushed to the ground.
Citywide, female district level, female, central.
Surveillance video obtained by Fox 45 shows officers racing to the scene with weapons drawn. When they arrived, they discovered a fellow officer injured and a suspect under arrest.
It just seems like a weird place for that kind of thing to happen.
Fells Point has been no stranger to violence recently. This brawl broke out at 2 in the morning at Broadway and Shakespeare last weekend. Officers managed to disperse the crowd and made no arrest.
It seems like people are hurting, angry, going through changes.
Last month, another late-night fight erupted on Thames Street, littering the area with empty bottles and bags. There were no arrests.
They don't seem to be addressing the real problem of crime in Baltimore, and there just needs to be more attention to it and not just talk and not just window dressing.
Wow. Oh, she bottled her.
In Fells Point today, those who live here and visit here seem surprised that this seemingly peaceful community by day has become a battlefield by night.
I mean, I do feel like violence could possibly happen anywhere.
Well, police have yet to identify the suspect or the injured officer connected to this latest case. A motive is still unknown. We are live in Fells Point tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Now from Fells Point to Mount Vernon, where the owner of a beloved grocery store tells Fox 45 News shoplifting is a driving force behind his decision to close his business.
It hurts my heart to leave Mount Vernon like this. Our blood, sweat, and tears, along with our employees, is in this building.
Fox 45's Keith Daniels spoke with the owner of Eddie's today. He joins us live now with the story. Keith?
Well, Maxine, when the store made its initial announcement this weekend, there was no reason given for the closure, but tonight we're hearing and learning more from the store's owner, including why the shutdown. At Eddie's in Mount Vernon, the clock is ticking. Countdown to closing permanently. Stephen Stern at the store at least once a week, among those customers now whose days are numbered.
I'm really bummed. I love Eddie's.
The Baltimore landmark, a neighborhood fixture for decades, and the only grocery store in the community, will close by the end of the month. Owner Dennis Zorn.
It hurts my heart to leave Mount Vernon like this.
Says he's shuttering the family business after 24 years. The announcement made on the store's Facebook page Saturday. Zorn says the financial impact of the COVID pandemic hurt business, but most importantly, another reason for the shutdown, he says,
chronic shoplifting and the violence that went along with it.
The cost of crime.
We had 2 knives pulled on us in the last year trying to stop shoplifters, and I don't want to expose my family nor my employees to that.
Scary, you know, and it happens more than you think. I mean, they had knives pulled on them before, and you really can't do much. You don't know what's going to happen when you try to stop them.
This isn't the first time the grocery store announced a closure. Last summer, the owner posted a sign on the door saying they were closing after a string of break-ins and rise in shoplifting. The owner told us he was paying about $800 a week for private security. But later, a change of mind, he stayed open. But tonight, the announcement again. He's closing in part because of crime.
It's impossible for me to do business like that. And I can't protect my employees. My daughter works here.
Well, we reached out to Councilman Eric Costello, who represents the store's community. We wanted his reaction on the closure and a comment about the store owner's concerns. No response from the councilman, but the store owner did tell us Costello did respond to him at one time, including telling him that he would ask police to increase patrols in the area. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. Well, shoplifting is having a huge impact on stores in Maryland and really nationwide. Maryland-based Giant Food is hiring security guards and limiting the amount of items you can bring through self-checkout at some locations to combat the problem. In Chicago, a Walgreens has only 2 aisles of touchable merchandise, some grab-and-go snacks and other items. Everything else is locked away. Customers have to order at a digital kiosk or on an app and then pick it up at the counter. In San Francisco, the city's largest Whole Foods, a Nordstrom, and an Old Navy flagship store have all closed in part because of shoplifting. And according to the National Retail Federation, retailers lost more than $94 billion to shoplifting last year. That is up about $4 billion from 2020. Some experts blame so-called soft-on-crime policies for the growing problem.
The people who physically go into the stores and steal the merchandise feel like there aren't going to be consequences for their actions, or that the consequences are only going to be relatively minor for them.
Well, here in Baltimore, the latest police data shows commercial robberies are up slightly this year by about 3% compared to last year. You can find more on the growing problem on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Baltimore City also dealing with more violent crimes. A North Baltimore community still reeling after the city's 4th mass shooting of the year. Now we're hearing from the mom of a 17-year-old hurt in that shooting. He's one of 6 victims.
You have no idea what that's like, to stand over my son and try to have him look me in the eyes and focus and hold on to life and ask him, can you jump up and down in the middle of the street like a fool so we can be the first people to be seen?
Well, we'll hear more from that mom coming up at 10:30. Friday's shooting happened on the border of a Safe Streets zone. Safe Streets held a rally Saturday, a usual part of the program's shooting response. The Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement oversees the Safe Streets program. Its leader, Shantae Jackson, is set to leave her position next Friday. Now, without a clear sense of who will lead Monzi moving forward, and the police department in the middle of a transition, the future of the GVRS is uncertain. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost explains.
Mayor Brandon Scott relentless in his commitment to the city's group violence reduction strategy. It's an effort to give people active in criminal activity an off-ramp and resources to help start a life outside of crime. The program, a point of intense scrutiny from some leaders, especially as the Baltimore Police Department and the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, or MONSE, defend their budget requests for next year.
And I think it's important that we really do a deep dive on what GVRS is, what that involves.
Councilman Eric Costello, chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, concerned about the data showing GVRS success and also the strain the program may have on an already short-staffed police department as the efforts expand into new areas.
And with GVRS, you're looking at 30 additional sworn officers that have been deployed to that district over a constant at any given time in patrol of 15 or 16 officers. So while GVRS may be successful, I think there are other contributing factors.
Once hailed as a win in the Western Police District where GVRS was piloted, the data is showing those efforts are slipping. Non-fatal shootings in the Western are trending upwards, going from 6 in January to 9 in May. Using BPD data, there have been 8 shootings in the Western so far this month. While leaders tout the success now, comparing data to 2022, former Deputy BPD Commissioner Jason Johnson says may not be accurate since 2022 was exceptionally violent.
When you have a really high year, you're probably going to see it come back down. It's almost like the stock market.
This was the most opportune time for me to pass the torch.
And now, with Michael Harrison stepping down as commissioner, the department is looking to expand the program with a new leader who says GVRS is here to stay.
We're on the right path and continue to build a group violence reduction strategy.
There will be new leaders in place, but look, this is the story of Baltimore.
GVRS expanding into the Southwestern Police District with plans to move into Central Baltimore later this year, even though 2 of the main agencies implementing the program will have new leadership.
It's very difficult to sustain any program, any strategic plan, because there's a consistently revolving door of leadership across all agencies.
Now, Shantae Jackson, who oversees the city agency in charge of both Safe Streets and GVRS, is set to leave from her position by next Friday, although she's refusing to say what's next for her. We're in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Well, we want to hear from you. Compared to this time last year, do you think Baltimore is more or less safe? So far, 100% of voters say less safe. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
It's been a pretty nice day and a hot one, too, with temperatures reaching the 80s and the 90s. Now we are starting to see impacts from our next weather maker. While we are still mostly dry here in Baltimore, closer to the state line, we do have some areas of showers and storms. I'll let you know when we could see rain here in my Weather Authority forecast. Back to you.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 10, a new vending machine in New York City is causing a stir nationwide. What's inside it and why some critics say it's a sign society is surrendering in the war on drugs. Governor Westmore on the national stage making bold claims about how Maryland is making strides against crime. Fox 45 News is demanding accountability as some question the governor's priorities. And right after the break, Howard County parents outraged as some students are being forced to walk more than a mile to school. As Project Baltimore explains, it comes as taxpayers pay more for transportation.
Well, some parents in Howard County are outraged after learning their children are losing their bus ride to school.
As Project Baltimore's Chris Papps found, the move is forcing students, some as young as kindergarten, to walk more than a mile to school.
Here's the bus. Happy, it's the last day of school. Happy to greet my daughter.
June 14th, 2023.
Everybody, a good pop.
The last day of school for these Howard County students.
Did you guys like riding the bus?
Yeah.
And as of now, it's also the last day they'll be riding the school bus.
Frustrating, very frustrating.
It's gonna be a struggle.
In March, just a few months ago, this neighborhood, like many others in Howard County, learned it won't have a bus next year.
Outrage. Shock. Total shock. Thought it had to be a mistake.
But it wasn't. These students who attend Rockburn Elementary are now considered walkers, including Lindy Mueller's 5-year-old daughter, who's going into kindergarten.
We timed it. It's 30 minutes each way.
Amber Sam Chee's daughter will be in 1st grade.
The first and foremost concern is safety. Safety, period, end of story.
There are dozens of elementary school students just in this neighborhood.
Probably their last time on the bus, so missed her. It's kind of disheartening.
Each one saying goodbye to the bus. Now, these students, like 6-year-old Angela, are expected to walk this route. From their bus stop, the walk is 1.2 miles to the school's door. But from Angela's house, it's 1.3 miles to the school's door. Mark is her father.
Notice the elevation of this hill? This is going down, and you have to take the same path back. So 5-year-old, 6-year-old, having to take this hike back. It's not going to be very easy.
Is the walk unsafe? Project Baltimore went with the families. The route does include steep hills. Most of the trek has roads with no sidewalks that go around.
Whoa, 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 left, left, left.
Blind curves and over blind hills where the kids cannot see the oncoming cars and the drivers in those cars cannot see them.
It was a blind hill because you can't see anything as you're going down, right? That's the definition of blind hill.
It's inappropriate to have to walk that far carrying as many bags and instruments and whatnot, especially, I mean, today we are blessed with actually really nice weather.
Earlier this year, Howard County Public Schools cut bus service for upwards of 3,500 students, about 6% of the student body. The district said bus service was cut to ensure the efficient use of transportation because school start times for next school year were changed.
They're saying that bus service in Howard County is now considered a boutique service, which is just crazy. They're telling us that it's good exercise for our kids to get some walking in.
The district increased the distance students must live from school to qualify for bus service. For pre-K students, middle schoolers, and high schoolers, the distance was increased by half a mile. K through 5 students stayed the same at 1 mile. But how the distance is calculated also changed.
I can't believe what it would feel like walking with like a 20-pound backpack on.
The old county policy measured the distance door to door. Now it's property line to property line, which according to the school system is 1.02 miles. That is why this neighborhood lost its bus.
There was really not a lot of transparency around the fact that this was going to be happening.
Over the past few years, Howard County has significantly increased its transportation budget. It's up about 30% over the last 2 years. So if taxpayers are paying more for transportation, why are fewer students being transported? Where's the money going? Project Baltimore asked Howard County Schools for an interview to discuss this walk and its transportation budget. The district declined, but explained in a statement that there is a sidewalk for the majority of the walk, which is on a dead-end street with no through traffic. But nowhere in this statement does Howard County Schools answer the first question we asked. If the transportation budget is 30% higher, why are fewer students being transported? That question was just ignored. So we sent another email asking it again.
Very disappointed. Disappointed in our elected officials, the Board of Education, and the transportation officials who have put budget ahead of safety of our kids.
The money factor is important here. If the district is increasing its transportation budget, but fewer students are being bused to school, where is the money going? We are working on getting that answer from Howard County Public Schools, and we'll keep you updated. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
It's kids sitting on a bus stop, and you have a car pull up with tinted windows and have people get out and literally start firing.
Fox 45 News hears from the mother of one of the 6 victims of Friday's mass shooting, how she describes the moments she held her teenage son after he was shot, and her message for the city.
A new development in the GOP investigation of the Biden family. I'm Christine Frizzell with what we're learning about a future witness in the probe.
It was a very hot day. Temperatures reached the 90s for just the second time this year, but we are looking at lower numbers over the next few days. Tomorrow, temperature is about 9 degrees lower. We're looking at highs in the upper 70s and the low 80s. And for the start of summer on Wednesday, even lower numbers. I'll let you know what you can expect for the next few days and our rain chances coming up in my full forecast.
We are waiting to learn more about when a former business partner of Hunter Biden's may be meeting with the House Oversight Committee.
House investigators say he could provide valuable information in their investigation into the Biden family.
National correspondent Christine Frizzell reports.
A former business partner of Hunter Biden, just the latest witness to cooperate with the House investigation into the Biden family business dealings. Devin Archer has reportedly agreed to tell the Oversight Committee what he knows from his time working with Hunter Biden, including serving on the board of the Ukrainian gas company Burisma after being subpoenaed.
And what we want to know from Devin Archer is what exactly did the Bidens do to receive the millions and millions of dollars from Russia and Ukraine?
Those millions now believed to be 20 to 30 million, according to Chairman James Comer, who continues to assert Joe Biden himself was involved, a claim repeated by former President Donald Trump.
It's also no coincidence that these charges against me came down the very same day. Evidence revealed Joe Biden took a $5 million bribe from Ukraine. But the FBI and the Justice Department don't even want to talk about it.
Democrats want the FBI to talk about it as well. Congressman Jamie Raskin, in a letter writing, the FBI explained the investigation into Biden was closed because of insufficient evidence to warrant escalating the probe, asking Director Wray to state that publicly.
In recent days, there were claims there may be audio recordings of Joe Biden from a whistleblower to help Republicans make their case. But their recordings, we're now learning, may not actually exist. I'm Christine Frizzau reporting.
A month after airing a scathing report into former President Trump's alleged ties to Russia, Special Counsel John Durham is expected to testify on Capitol Hill later this week. Durham, who was appointed to investigate how the FBI launched a probe into Trump's 2016 campaign and ties to Russia, will testify in front of the House Intelligence Committee and the House Judiciary Committee. The Intelligence Committee hearing will be behind closed doors. Here's House Intel Chief Mike Turner explaining what he wants to know.
Every investigation that has occurred, including now the Durham report, conclusively states that this was a result of people who had political bias who undertook an investigation based upon total Clinton campaign funded research that was uncorroborated and turned out to be even untrue. And that's where you have to be concerned.
Well, Durham, who was appointed special counsel by former President Trump, determined authorities did not have sufficient evidence to open the case. Durham secured one low-level guilty plea but lost both cases he brought to court in the 4-year-long investigation.
Governor Moore touting his crime plan on the national stage. White has some critics questioning his priorities.
New York City's latest vending machines causing quite the stir nationwide. I'm Peel Gaskins in Washington with why critics say what's in these vending machines will be bad for the public.
We are following 3 big stories at 10:30.
New vending machines in New York City are raising eyebrows nationwide. What's inside them and why some say it could put people in danger?
Fox 45 News is demanding accountability for the crime crisis here in Baltimore and across the state after Governor Wes Moore made some bold claims about Maryland's crime fight on the national stage.
Plus, we're hearing from the mother of the 17-year-old victim in Friday's mass shooting in North Baltimore.
If you're not stepping up, you're a part of the problem. The criticism is not going to save our children if they're getting shot 5 and 6 at a time on a bus stop.
We begin with that mother's story.
Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell has new details on Friday's violence.
The bullet holes at this bus stop, a reminder of Friday's mass shooting here in North Baltimore. But for one mother, the scene forever etched in her mind. Off camera, recalling finding her 18-year-old son on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds.
This crime scene was ridiculous. There wasn't even enough officers to cover the scene. We out here on the street corner crying and praying at the same time, waiting for first come, first serve on EMT. You have no idea what that's like, to stand over my son and try to have him look me in the eyes and focus and hold on to life and ask him, can you jump up and down in the middle of the street like a fool so we can be the first people to be seen?
The teen was one of 3 victims found at the scene.
We've had 3 additional victims walk into local hospitals.
Got a 17-year-old male, juvenile, GSW to the left leg and 2 foot.
The acting police commissioner detailing a total of 6 victims, 5 males ages 17 to 26, and a 32-year-old woman, all shot here around 8:45 Friday night. Why and who did this? Unclear. Baltimore police not yet releasing a believed motive. The mother says her son was talking with people at the bus stop when someone pulled up and started firing.
It's kids sitting on a bus stop, and you have a car pull up with tinted windows and have people get out and literally start firing, walk down on people and start firing automatic weapons and shoot 6 people.
The mother frustrated by the violence. Earlier this year, she says she joined food trucks who were helping serve lunch on campus after 5 students were shot, one of them killed in a mass shooting at the Edmondson Village Shopping Center.
The thing that happened at Emerson High School should have created a feeling for all of us, like it did for me.
Now, her own teen son, a victim of gun violence.
I live on Cold Spring.
She and a local pastor would like to see more from the city and people of Baltimore.
I want to get ahead of that. We need to keep talking and reacting to what happened. What do we got to do to prevent it from happening?
If you're not stepping up, you're a part of the problem. The criticism is not going to save our children if they're getting shot 5 and 6 at a time on a bus stop, a public bus stop, at a major intersection, riddled by cameras.
Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Well, there are multiple cameras at the intersection where the shooting happened. Fox 45 News reached out to police to ask if they've gathered any surveillance video, but we have not heard back. Before the shooting happened, the pastor Alexa talked with had scheduled a community meeting to talk about the problems, including safety. That meeting is tomorrow morning. You can find details within this story on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
And the gun violence epidemic is not just a Baltimore issue. Just over a week ago, 3 people were killed and 3 others were hurt in an Annapolis mass shooting. Police say it started with an argument over a parking spot. 43-year-old Charles Robert Smith is accused of opening fire on a group of people headed to a birthday party nearby. He's facing multiple charges, including murder, assault, and a firearms charge. So far, investigators have not ruled out a hate crime. Governor Wes Moore facing some criticism related to the 2 mass shootings after he addressed the one in Annapolis in person, but not the one in Baltimore.
That sends the wrong signal about the value of life. A life in Baltimore should count as much as a life in Annapolis. We know that's the way it's supposed to be, but we also know that that's not really true.
The governor also getting some pushback on his summer safety plan. He hit the national airwaves this weekend, making bold claims about how Maryland is making strides against crime. Olivia Dance continues our team coverage.
The political analysts I spoke to say the governor's crime plan lacks substance, and they worry it won't be effective here in Baltimore. But despite that, he's taking his plan to a national audience.
Governor Wes Moore saying all is well in Baltimore on MSNBC over the weekend.
Now what we're doing is we're actually putting together policies that are making people safer. What we're doing is actually doing things like making sure we can get and keep these illegal guns out of our neighborhood. We're actually doing things.
But taking a closer dive, just last week, the governor announced a crime-fighting plan lacking a lot of substance. A few details concerning to some political analysts.
But whether this works is going to depend a lot on what's not in the headlines, but in the paragraphs that follow.
The proof is in the execution of the plan and ultimately the results that it drives.
And now he's talking about that plan on a national platform.
I think one of the most concerning things is that he is taking it national. When we here at home are still trying to figure out what exactly does this mean and how is it going to function and how is it really going to affect Baltimore.
Yuripsy Morgan, the spokesperson for the People for Elected Accountability and Civic Engagement, or PEACE, says even with the governor touting progress in Baltimore, crime is still a huge concern, despite homicides in the city being down slightly so far this year compared to last.
It's not just murders. People are afraid to walk down the street. People are afraid to send their children to school.
And while many who actually live in the city still feel unsafe, this isn't the first time the governor has focused instead on a national audience.
We know that our impact and the work that we're doing right now, both with the federal government and the local government, to reduce violence in the state of Maryland, that it is working.
Morgan believes it's obvious that Governor Moore has political aspirations that go beyond the borders of our state.
He just put out this crime plan as a response to the crime that we're seeing in the city. And so as long as the focus stays here at home, then, he can say what he wants. But unfortunately, I think it's starting to feel like, maybe Maryland is not #1 focus.
As far as the plan goes, Governor Moore's office sent me a statement saying they have committed to investing $122 million for local police departments across the state. Now, $17.5 million of that is dedicated to Baltimore City alone. But of course, only time will tell if the plan will be successful. For now, reporting in Baltimore, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
Well, last week, a Gonzales poll found an overwhelming majority of Marylanders believe getting caught with a stolen firearm should be a felony. Currently, it's not in Maryland. The only crime legislation that came out of Annapolis this session raised the misdemeanor sentence for illegal gun possession to 5 years. Lawmakers, meanwhile, passed the Gun Safety Act of 2023. The law, which goes into effect October 1st, restricts where legal wear and carry permit holders can bring a gun. The NRA is suing the state over that law. Critics say the governor's focus should be on what voters want.
We talk about the gun violence on a regular basis. Possessing a stolen gun should be a felony. 90% of Marylanders agree with this. Why the legislature refuses to do this is beyond me, and why the governor, who has so much power and influence, cannot just say to the legislature, get this done, is beyond me.
Also on Inside with Jen Psaki, Governor Moore spoke about efforts to restrict books in school libraries nationwide.
It's not about making kids feel uncomfortable. It's about telling other kids that they shouldn't understand their own power. It's castrating them.
Well, parents and Republican lawmakers have cited age appropriateness and the need to make sure students are comfortable as a reason to remove certain books. Moore says he believes the argument is a, quote, guise.
New tonight, police say a 9-year-old girl is hurt after she was hit by a car along North Spring Street just before 9 tonight. Her condition is not clear right now. Police say the driver did stay on the scene but did not provide any more details. A Towson man is in custody after police say he shot and killed a police officer and assaulted 2 men in Virginia just south of Charlottesville late Friday night. 23-year-old Daniel Barmack is facing several charges, including capital murder. He's being held at a jail in Virginia. You can find more on the shooting on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
We're taking a look now at the Fox Box. The top left, time is ticking to find the submersible that went missing on its voyage to the wreckage of the Titanic. The 5-person vessel was reported overdue last night. It has a 96-hour oxygen supply, and the vessel has been out for nearly 40 hours.
Top right, heavy rain brings flooding to Mobile, Alabama and surrounding areas, prompting flash flood emergencies. Rain will continue into the evening, and more storms are forecast for tomorrow.
Bottom left, for the first time in a year, home builders are feeling good about the housing market. The feeling is that the Fed is nearing the end of rate hikes, putting builders in a good position to expand housing supply.
Bottom right, President Biden is ramping up his 2024 campaign with a slew of fundraisers. The Associated Press reports his campaign will have more than 20 fundraisers in the second half of June, including one right here in Maryland.
The contents of New York City's latest publicly funded vending machine causing a stir nationwide. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins explains why.
You won't find Doritos or Pepsi in Brooklyn's latest vending machine. Instead, Narcan and crack pipes.
The point of it is we all know people who would be alive today if a machine like this had existed.
This machine, one of 4 the city's health department plans to install.
This also normalizes that we in treatment know that people are using, and so we're okay with that. You can use safely, get to us, and then get treatment so that you can turn your life around, and that's the goal.
The machine reportedly ran out of crack pipes in the first 24 hours. This program costing taxpayers about $750,000. Critics like former NYPD Commissioner Bill Bratton sees this as society surrendering in the war on drugs.
Instead of trying to get people away from drugs, we have policies now. We have vending machines to encourage them to stay on drugs.
Narcan vending machines are a growing trend. Pennsylvania, Texas, and Michigan already have them. New York, however, appears to be the first to distribute free crack pipes through vending machines. Former drug dealer and addict Richie Wynn has dedicated his life to helping others achieve sobriety. He says there's no such thing as safe consumption.
Have somebody safely inject fentanyl, which is an oxymoron, because there's no way to safely inject a street drug that is being manufactured in another country that has no regulation.
Law enforcement expert Jason Johnson pointing out the negative impacts of drugs doesn't stop at the user.
And there's also all the collateral effects, homelessness, and all of the things that come with it, the appearance of disorder, increase in thefts and shoplifting. It has sort of a ripple effect that I don't think is widely appreciated.
These vending machines are part of a pilot program, so if deemed successful, they'll roll out more. This as NYC health officials say they're on track for another record year of deaths from overdose. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
I'm Atrell Nashar in Washington with a look at the high temperatures putting pressure on power grids all over the country and how officials are racing to keep up with demand.
President Joe Biden pledging millions of dollars to help people impacted by extreme weather. Where the money will be going.
And right now we're seeing rain across portions of the state and a few storms as well.